Genesis chapter 1. In the beginning, when God created the heavens and the earth was a formless void, and darkness covered the face of the deep, while a wind from God swept over the face of the waters. Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, the first day. And God said, "Let there be a dome in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters." So God made the dome and separated the waters that were under the dome from the waters that were above the dome. And it was so. God called the dome sky, and there was evening, and there was morning, the second day. And God said, "Let the waters under the sky be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. God called the dry land earth, and the waters that were gathered together he called seas. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let the earth put forth vegetation, plants yielding seed, and fruit trees of every kind on earth that bear fruit with the seed in it." And it was so. The earth brought forth vegetation, plants yielding seed of every kind, and trees of every kind bearing fruit with the seed in it. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the third day. And God said, "Let there be lights in the dome of the sky to separate the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years, and let them be lights in the dome of the sky to give light upon the earth." And it was so. God made the two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night, and the stars. God set them in the dome of the sky to give light upon the earth, to rule over the day and over the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the fourth day. And God said, "Let the waters bring forth swarms of living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth across the dome of the sky." So God created the great sea monsters and every living creature that moves of every kind, with which the waters swarm, and every winged bird of every kind. And God saw that it was good. God blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful, and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let birds multiply on the earth." And there was evening, and there was morning, the fifth day. And God said, "Let the earth bring forth living creatures of every kind, cattle and creeping things and wild animals of the earth of every kind." And it was so. God made the wild animals of the earth of every kind, and the cattle of every kind, and everything that creeps upon the ground of every kind. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let us make humankind in our image, according to our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the wild animals of the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth." So God created humankind in his image. In the image of God he created them. Male and female he created them. God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the air, and over every living thing that moves upon the earth." God said, "See, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree with seed in its fruit. You shall have them for food. And to every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the air, and to everything that creeps on the earth, everything that has the breath of life, I have given every green plant for food. And it was so. God saw everything that he made, and indeed it was very good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the sixth day. Genesis 1 is the first of two creation stories in the Hebrew Bible, and what a spectacular hymn of creation this is, singing to us in the most poetic language the nature not only of nature and the entire cosmos, but of God the Creator. This is an all-powerful God, the Master who quite literally calls all things into existence by his words. Interestingly, this text does not speak about the beginning of time. Rather, it begins at a point in time when God begins to create. And neither is this creation a creation from nothing. The earth was a formless void. The stuff of creation was in a state of chaos and disorder. Creation, then, is God's act of ordering. Waters are separated, day and night are separated. This creation story is an ordering of the universe, a making intelligible of things. It is over this primordial chaotic soup that a wind or spirit of God broods, like a hen over her eggs. We find here that light comes before the creation of the sun, moon and the stars, and this is an element of other Near Eastern creation myths. It is clear that this is quite a deliberate choice on the part of the author or authors, but we don't know why. It appears to fit into a mythological convention in the ancient Near East, and according to ancient Jewish sources, this first light was hidden from the world when God saw how wicked and corrupt people had become. Perhaps we can understand this as the light of understanding. God is ordering all things, distinguishing the light of understanding from the darkness of ignorance and chaos. Light is called into being on the first day of creation and is separated from the darkness. And it is not until the fourth day that God creates the greater and lesser lights, the sun and the moon and the stars, that rule over the day and the night and give light to the world. Thus day 1 is partnered with and complemented by day 4. On day 1 God sets the stage, so to speak, and on day 4 fills that stage with props. And we see this with each of the 6 days of creation. Day 1 is married to day 4, day 2 to day 5, and day 3 to day 6. On the second day, in a clear echo of the Babylonian creation myth, we come to see that the beginning is imagined as a water world. There is no dry land. The heavens and the earth are all water, and God divides the waters from the waters. The waters above from the waters below. Then on the 5th day, God calls forth the sea monsters, another clear echo of the sea monster Tiamat from Babylonian mythology, who is slain and divided by the god Marduk to create the sky and the land, and all the swarms of living things that live in the water. Likewise, on day 3, God gathers together the waters beneath the heaven for dry land to appear. Now we have land and fresh air above, a life support bubble for plants and animals to live on dry land. And the 3rd day is coupled with the 6th, when living things, including people, are made to populate the canvas that is day 3. The device here is that the days are in pairs, except that is for one day, the 7th day, the Sabbath. But we'll get to that in the next chapter. At the apex of this creation story is the creation of humanity, a creature made in the image and likeness of God. The Hebrew Bible is about people and their relationship to God, and so the whole story begins by in effect justifying this relationship. People are made to be like God, a being who reflects the nature of its maker. Man was made in the image of God, but not man as male, Man was made in the image of God, male and female. This speaks of the complementarity of our creation and of a radical equality of the sexes. One is not given priority over the other, as we see in the second creation myth in Genesis 2, the creation of Adam and Eve. God blesses the living things he has made, telling them to be fruitful and multiply. Fruitfulness and procreation is the first blessing God gives humanity in the Torah. It is part of our purpose to be mothers and fathers, not only to have children of our own, because not everyone can, but to be mothers and fathers to the young people around us. We are blessed in how we nurture others and help them to grow. We are given dominion over creation, over all the other living things, and instructed to subdue the world. Now, on the surface, this reads as though we have been given divine permission to abuse the world, but nothing could be further from the truth. This is an extension of our likeness to God, to be like God and continue the work of creation, ordering the world, being the stewards of nature, caring for the world God has created. This is also linked to the blessing of fruitfulness. We are to be fruitful. We are intended to be healthy and not rotten, to keep things healthy, and not to be a parasite upon the earth. In this creation story, human beings are made as the agents of God. We are the caretakers of creation. Thank you so much for listening to this reading of Genesis 1 and to this brief commentary. In the next episode, we will hear the second creation story of Genesis 2 as we continue our way through the whole book of Genesis, the first book of the Hebrew Bible. I have been reading from the New Revised Standard Version of the Bible, and I'm Jason Michael McCann, a lecturer in Biblical Studies, and you can support this project on Patreon. A link will be in the description below, and I will see you in the next episode. Thank you.